Hello and welcome to the Weekly Scroll podcast brought to you by the Adventure Archive. My name is Ryan.
And I'm... Hold on.
Who are you, buddy?
I am Hieronymus Van Aken.
Oh, nice. Well, cool. Good on you. We're a podcast that looks at tip-top role-playing games. Woo! Tonight we're going to be going over Laurie O'Connell's Hieronymus. This beast of a book right here.
It's one of those times we both actually got the book, you know?
We did. We both did actually get the book. Did you also? You got the all of everything, right? Yeah, with like the bookmarks and the whole nine. Yeah.
The player character, the player character bookmarks, man. This is your
so
character
dope.
sheet. Oh,
so dope.
Fucking sick. Also,
So
I got a
dope.
ton of them.
Yeah,
I dropped them.
You get like a whole fucking like stack of these suckers.
Yeah.
So for those cool. in podcast world that aren't seeing what we're seeing, this is a big, wide, weird book. It's kind of like if Cyber Metal's like shape, but much bigger. I don't know what is this. What is this? A4?
A something.
Yeah.
A something, baby.
It looks like almost like an 8.5 by 11, but a little longer. But it's sideways. It is sideways. And it came with a kind of like GM screen that's also like just the explainer for the entire hex map.
Yeah, so like this game what we're going to go through today is a hex crawl through the work of Hieronymus, and I think there's work of another artist as well. I think The Inferno by somebody else. But point being, it's an incredibly surreal, odd like journey through this art. It's really fucking weird. I'm into this shit, actually. I backed it because I was like, oh, this looks weird as fuck. I'm in, you know?
Same. Yep.
Yeah.
It's weird as fuck. I actually have because this is like the second version or the second printing. I think I have the first printing somewhere. I'm not going to hunt on it, but I think it's over here in like the +1 EXP section. But it's cool. It's weird. I mean, I agree. The same thing. As soon as I saw it, I was like, Hieronymus Bosch's art is fucked up. This game is like a super simple system. I mean, which is exactly what I want. And, we love us a good hex crawl on here. So very excited to read this.
I'm such a hex crawl boy, bro. I don't know what happened to me in life. I used to be like, no, I'm not into hex crawls. And now I'm like, no, every shit thing should be a hex crawl. It's just way easier.
Well, you know what's great about hex crawls and point crawls and stuff is like, so I occasionally talk about 5e, right?
I've never heard you say anything about 5e at all.
And the thing with 5e is a lot of it feels like you have to write a story, or a lot of people run it as, because the game really kind of like writes its rules to encourage you to run it as a story where you are the storyteller, you already have the ending dictated, and you're really going from point A to point B in a storyline, right? And what I love about hex crawls and then point crawls within hex crawls is that you don't have to prep everything.
Yeah.
But on a hex crawl, when they go from hex to hex, you have enough prep that you can run each section without having to do a huge thing. And everyone's always like, oh, well, you can't just let them do anything you want. Like, yeah, you can on a hex crawl because you have all the hexes already. Like, they can literally just go in any direction they want because you have the hexes around it already. And realistically, even if you don't want to prep too much, you can just prep the hexes around where they already are. And then they can go in any direction they want because they're never going to cross 2 hexes in a day, or for the most part, and stuff like that. So it's just nice to have something where players can feel like their choices matter and pick the directions that they go. Anyway, so I do have a couple of other physical rewards that I want to look at real quick before we get going.
I got a couple too, actually. Let me grab mine just real quick. Switch over to yours. Let's do yours first, then we'll do mine.
Okay. All right. Nope, that's not it. Here's the window for me. Okay. Why does it? No, that's not it either. Man, if you're watching, I'm sorry for the whiplash of transitions that you just went through. So, while Hunter runs off and grabs his stuff, I'm going to go over the very first one. So, for those that haven't listened to us before, we are huge Max Moon stands. So you should absolutely go check out 12 Years, Abyss of Hallucinations, everything that they ever touch. It is amazing. Love their stuff. And not only that, not only do they write great content and stuff, but they often hand do their own, like hand screen print their zines. They hand bind hardback books. They make super limited edition stuff, and not like Kickstarter limited edition, but then like 6 months later you can buy it on stores anyway. Like legitimately, they will hand make one-off stuff that gets sent to you. So this is one of those things. This is from a recent Kickstarter. This box is absolutely gorgeous and stunning. It's this kind of like marbled red, gold, and black pattern across the top. The lid is on a black box, right? And when you crack this sucker open, you see the same kind of design pattern on the cover of this hand-bound
So beautiful.
book.
It's so pretty.
Absolutely stunning. And then it's got this black edge on the side. I love books like this. Like Trophy, we'll be going over Trophy here soon, does a similar thing where they have like a cloth bound, just like the first like inch and a half around the binding and stuff. And then the book itself is like regular. But this is absolutely stunning. Like I said, red, black, and gold. This is a hand bound version of the Book of Lies. Unique copy. There's only 2 of these that exist in the world. There's a dark one and a light one. I, of course, got the dark one. I did. That's me. It is absolutely... Why are you terribly zooming right now? Probably a light issue. But it is absolutely gorgeous. I'm also going to turn the blur off for a second because it's really fucking up my...
Quick, everyone look at his background. Quick, everyone look. He's not blurred anymore.
You can look at it, read all the books. It's just absolutely gorgeous. I love the layout, the art that's used inside, this red border around like all the pages. It's just an absolutely beautiful, stunning book. Copy, a version of the Book of Lies. Actually, signed by Max and everything, hand printed, hand done, hand bound. It is absolutely stunning. This is one of the coolest books that I'm ever going to own until I get more Max Moon stuff. And this will be replacing some of I know you guys don't, right above me, I have a bunch of Max's like super rare stuff on stands actually. And this is one of those ones that's just absolutely amazing. Whenever there's a Max Moon Kickstarter, I probably shouldn't say it because I always try to compete to get it. There's always one tier where there's only 1 and or 2 of, the rarest thing you can get from the Kickstarter. And I think I've gotten all of them, but maybe Abyss of Hallucinations 1.
Right. Yeah. I remember you being upset about not getting at least.
Oh my God. Yeah. There was like a cursed seal version of Abyss of Hallucinations 1 that I didn't get.
It was a wax seal, right? Is that what it was?
Yeah. And I just talking about that. There's very few things I don't have from Max, but that are on my bucket list. A cursed seal version of that. The gold cover with like the Lich art. There's only like 10 versions of the original 12 Years cool that came in like a Laws, like a Wizard of an iWizard folder. That's one of them. So anyway, Max Moon, amazing creator, amazing person, someone I'm very, very glad to call a friend. But also like all of their shit is just absolutely fire. So if you ever see anything from Max Moon, you should absolutely grab it. And also
then check out maxmoongames.com,
There you go. You should just go do all that. Why don't you do one of yours? Let me rearrange some windows in here for you, and we'll do you here.
I got mine. My first one. I have a couple, but I'm good to just touch on them. But first one is by another friend of ours, Astrolich. I received Timescape. Astrolich's Terminator style inspired zine for Cyborg. And it is very pretty on the inside. There's a lot of really cool uses of color that kind of step outside of like the whole Cyborg colorscape. But yeah, it's I like it a lot. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and so Asterlich, definitely one of the homies. It's a really, really awesome one.
Yeah. And it's I haven't gone all the way through it yet, but God, look at this page. Look at this pink and blue.
Oh, you know we love pink hair on the show.
God, it's so pretty. I was flipping through it. My girlfriend was sitting next to me, and she's like, "Oh, that page is really nice." I'm like, "I know." It also stands out. It's a different color. But yeah, I'm really stoked to get that. Another one of like, I like astrological stuff because it's like this weird, inspired by some media, and he just kind of rips it and like does his own thing with it, and I really do enjoy it. Indeed.
Oh, okay. Yes. All right. I'll do a second one. So this one I got like yesterday, and it brought me such intense joy. And it's like the game is cool. Like the game is cool, but the box. Let me tell you about this box. All right. So this is called One Breath Left. Okay.
Looks very cool.
And it is from Stoat Press. Okay. Beautiful box, right?
Sorry, Stoat Press.
Yeah.
That's an amazing name. It's a really great name.
So it's printed on the front of the box, it's printed on the side of the box, and it's printed on the edge of the box. And I'll show you the edge a little bit later. So a couple of things that I love about this that brought me so much joy, where someone just went, what more can I do here? First of all, it's got this like slidey thing here on the side, which I absolutely love.
Oh,
and this piece here, where it talks about it says a procedurally generated solo journaling sci-fi horror game, right? It's a sticker on this, which I'm like something about just another layer on it brings me joy. And you know that it's like an added cost to have a sticker on this, you know what I mean? Like it just makes it nicer, right? So one of the things immediately that I saw that I loved was, the box is, printed black, but this slider on it is red, right? But when you slide the slider off, underneath that, there's it's hiding an alien creature that's gonna come after the guy on the front of the cover. I'm like, that's so dope that this covers that, cool. Right? So fucking cool. And then you look at the little slider guy itself. It's One Breath Left. On the bottom, right, it's got this thing that says it's single player. It takes about 1 to 2 sessions, and it's got infinite replayability. Right, you turn the thing over, and it's got the kind of like what would be the back of the book stuff, right? Which is
very cool.
Really, really nice. Really cool. Okay. So this piece in and of itself to have on the outside of the box, super dope. Like really love that. And then, so you look at the front of the box, beautiful art, with now the monster revealed. You look at the back of the box, again, more beautiful art. One thing I love about the box too, is when you look at the edge of the box, it's designed like a book.
Dude, so I don't remember you mentioning this before. I don't
know.
Where did this come from?
It was a Kickstarter back there. Look at the
You just left me out of the loop on this one, man.
I must have. So anyway, on the edge, it looks like a book. It's printed with the Stoat Press and little doggy logo on the side, and One Breath Left is printed on the side, so that if you put it as if they are the books behind me, it literally would look kind of like a book spine on the shelf, right?
That's pretty cool.
Okay. How fucking cool is that? And then my next favorite part of this, again, like all of this has brought me so much joy, because I'm just like, it could have just been a box, but it's a box with like a monster hidden behind. It's got this like sleeve cover, that covers up that monster. The sleeve cover itself gives you like basically front and back of the book information. That you would have, and then the book is designed, and then the box is designed to look like a book on the shelf. All of that, so much joy.
Yes,
but then also,
right? All this is very good,
Yeah, right. But then also, okay, right. So if it's a spine for the book, when you put the sleeve on, the edge of the sleeve doesn't cover up the spine. It's got the same art in the same size that's on the spine. So when you put it on the shelf, you can keep the sleeve on the box and still look at it like it's a book with like the same writing and same everything. It's just got this nice red blotch on it now. And the all of that is so simple, but all together, again, brought me so much joy to just be like, man, the amount of like just thought that went into this red sleeve that goes on this book. It's oh my god, like I was literally like beaming, just being like, Stoat, like this is how to do a fucking box set for a game. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely stunning. And then when you crack it open and actually get to the game, You get a stack of cards. You get your little.
We've been
You get
talking
your
about
little.
the box this whole time,
Dude, the game is cool as fuck. Don't get me wrong, but the box, just like the amount of
This fucking
serotonin and
box, man.
dopamine, dude. I'm telling you, you get this little token guy with it, and then all of the game books are written like this is the operator manual. It's literally written like a manual, explorer's handbook, and navigation guide. It's just so fucking cool. But the box, bro, like so good. I
figure if they put that much care into the packaging, then like it's everywhere. You know what I mean? They put that much care all the way through it. So
yeah, and just oh my god, this little red sleeve. Just so good. Anyway, so that's one more of mine. Hunter, you got another one?
I got one more. And this one's going to be real quick. And everyone knows about this, but I'm just excited because this got sent to my mom's place because I was in the middle of a move. And I never got it until just now. And that is the Old School Essentials box sets. I got both the Classic Fantasy, and then this is the Advanced Fantasy. You know, your fantasy, it's advanced. It's like such... I've been going through these for a few days now and just enjoying how quality all the light reference books are. The ability to hold them in a single hand, have all your necessary roll tables at the front and back of the book, and then be able to look through the book, find a single subject, and have that subject, whether it be a character or other, on one spread. So you can hold the book and use it as a reference book, and you use the table and have all the information available that you need. It is such a masterpiece of like, listen, I know that I especially am always on here. Like I play Bastards because there's no fucking rules. And I'll appreciate that. But like, if you're going to have rules in your game, like having books that you can actively reference easily and that are enjoyable to use as a reference is fantastic. I'm so fucking stoked to play some OSC. And yeah, I'm very excited about this, obviously. I've been waiting for my mom to send it forever, and I finally got it. And it's super cool. It came with a T-shirt and a blacklight poster, and the T-shirt and the blacklight poster are the same image because it's a T-shirt I picked. The T-shirt's really cool, fits really well, and the blacklight poster is so cool. I'm gonna move in a few months, and I'm gonna be in a cooler place, so I don't want to unwrap it yet. So it's waiting for that. But I mean, such an awesome project, fulfilled so well. All my expectations were met with that one.
It's sick. I love OSC. You know, obviously I have a whole stack of OSC that people can see here on the side, and that is definitely a game that we want to go over sooner than later here on the show. That's one of the ones where we're gonna need to like actually prep for and like decide what parts we're gonna go over, because we're not gonna be able to like dig through all of that in the already 2+ hours that we go through the show. But yeah. It's such a cool fucking game, and we should really run some OSC. Like, the more I read older editions of D&D, the more I realize that we have strayed from God. The more the editions have gone, and we should go back.
Yeah, so, 5 was a mistake. 4 was also kind of a mistake as well.
No, I will fight you about that. 4 is amazing. If 4 was called anything but D&D, people would have loved the fuck out of it. And so many people in 5th edition are like, we should add this to the game.
3.5, guys. 3.5.
Yeah, is probably the mistake.
No, wait. Listen, all the real D-bags love 3.5.
Yeah. The original old school D&D was so good, and I really love a lot of the BX stuff where the rules were just simpler and made more sense and they were more like rules too. You know what I mean? Like a lot when there was less like story stuff in it and the RP was up to you versus I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, one last thing that I want to chew through real quick, and then we'll get going. Since we're showing stuff off, I really want to show these bad boys off. I got Gangs of Titan City from Soul Muppet.
I also have that. I forgot I got that. It's on my bookshelf. Yeah.
So this is Gangs of Titan City. Okay. From Soul Muppet. Beautiful, absolutely stunning, gorgeous book. We should definitely go over this at some point, right? So this is the original cover, right? Remember how many covers were available?
No. Oh God, how many covers were available?
So there's that one. Then there's this alt cover
Oh shit, that's fucking cool.
Yeah, it's got this like
so cool.
Yeah,
Why did I get the regular?
this is the it says that rolling unts. This is got a like, it's like pink and white and red, and it's got like an orc with machine guns. Absolutely fucking stunningly beautiful. And of course it was a third cover. So what do you think I did? I got I got the super special Kickstarter only cloth bound red silver gilded on it cover.
Wow, that's disgustingly good looking. I really and genuinely enjoy that.
How gorgeous. So the front is all done in like dots, but then the dots like silhouette out a gun on it, and then it's all just silver on cloth bound. So I love cloth bound books, but like as soon as you start touching them, your skin oils and stuff like that start doing it. So these are ones that I need to just stick on the shelf and never touch again. But all three of these together are absolutely stunning. Soul Muppet does some amazing content. I love Best Left Buried. I think most of the knocks that we had against Best Left Buried were not like it was more like the book, you know, the editing and things like that. But the game itself is a game that I absolutely am obsessed with. I love the concept. It really takes it back to like, you know, I read this article once about how original low level D&D was a horror game because you are totally. And that's what really is channeled in Best Left Buried. Orbital Blues is amazing. They actually have a Kickstarter out right now, and I think it's called Inevitable. I highly recommend you check it out. It's like Arthurian, but like kind of sci-fi-ish. So you should definitely check out them on Kickstarter for their stuff. But anything that's put out by Soul Muppet, you should definitely check out. Gangs of Titan City is one that we really want to go over at some point. I highly recommend you grab all the rare stuff. One of the biggest mistakes I made on Kickstarter was not getting the tape and night edition, like the in-game cassette tape, and then the night version of Orbital Blues. And I eventually was able to find those, so I fixed that mistake. And I'll be fixing the mistake of not getting the OSC box set, since I have all the OSCs individually here in probably just a minute. So anyway, that's a lot of physical stuff. We haven't done a lot of physical. Let me go back to the opening screen. We haven't done a lot of physical looks at Kickstarter stuff lately. We're both trying to back fewer Kickstarters, but sometimes you just get some stuff that's absolutely fire. And wanted to hit some of those real quick. We went
the first year and a half of this show, we went like way too hard on Kickstarter. I have a ton of stuff.
I don't think too hard.
We went really hard. Maybe not too hard, but we did go full shaft. So
and then the whole shaft all the way. I will say the very last thing I got is something I've been wanting forever from Sophia Tinney. I finally got the first version, original Kickstarter art version of Kingdoms. Can't wait for her newest project to hit. But now I have both versions of Kingdoms. This was one of the ones that was on my my Grail list for a long time, and thank goodness we started the podcast, because a lot of the Grail stuff that I've been trying to find since when we meet the creators, I'm able to get. So that's it. All right, now we can actually review the game that we're supposed to be reviewing. Woo. Are we ready? Are we ready for the review of the game that we're supposed to actually be going over?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let's get crack-a-lackin' on
and this will be cool. I was telling Ryan before this that I did not get to deep dive this one yet. I really went through it once, but that's not a lot for me as somebody with advanced ADHD. So this will be fun. I'm really excited for this. Super weird and cool. Yeah.
It is super weird and cool, and
fucking lovely book, bro. Honestly, just
dude,
with the Hieronymus like Bosch artwork, obviously that's what this game's about, but like it's so nice to look at. It looks so good.
You look so good.
Thank you. Because I trim my mustache.
Is that what it is?
That's exactly what it is, man.
Boom, baby. So as the other thing about like deep diving this book realistically is that the actual rules in the book are like 15 pages. Like it's really very minimal as far as the rule set goes. And I love that. I really enjoy the I feel like this is the kind of game that the rules get out of the way of how cool the game can be and really puts the onus on the players to make it fucking awesome. So, you know, that is what that is. So Laurie O'Connel, Hieronymus. As Hunter said, it is the art of Hieronymus Bosch, words from Laurie O'Connell, edited by Pamela Poonzalon, layout from Chris Bissett, with thanks to Matt Sanders, someone who also does a lot of really awesome stuff with Soul Muppet and has their own stuff as well. I will say I have the version 3 PDF here, but I also have the version 2.1 PDF. And what's interesting, and we talked about this before the show started, is that the 2.1 PDF had hyperlinks, and the version 3 PDF does not.
You gotta wonder why. You have to wonder what happened.
You know, they probably, I don't, because you would think they could be using the same like document and then just updating some parts and like resubmitting it. So I'm curious what made the PDF go away, like all of those links go away when you already had done all of them.
I mean, they're probably all working off, like there's a version that they're all working off, and maybe somebody's working off an older version that was pre that. And then that older version is the one that kept getting updated moving forward, and so that's where you lost that. I mean, that's why I feel like stuff like that happens, you know.
And that's curious when we do get to the scoring, because I honestly just got this version 3 PDF. I have been reading and looking through and doing all the stuff with version 2.1, and then I was like, you know what? It's been a while since 2.1. Literally right before stream started, I hopped on the itch page where we were sent the link for the the rewards, and was like, let me see if there's an updated version. Oh, there is. It's version 3. So it was literally right before the stream started when I downloaded this and realized it didn't have hyperlinks. So when we get to reviewing this, it's going to be interesting. I don't know if I don't know what we're going to do about, like, I don't know, accountability for not having the hyperlinks when a lot of the earlier versions did. So I guess we'll see what happens. But this is Hieronymus Exploring Strange Worldscapes. Broken down pretty quickly. I mean, the whole book is hardback, as we showed you, and in a very weird, big format. I will say the only thing about the format that is kind of a pain in the butt. One, like, I love it. So it's not a real knock. It's amazing, right? But the shape and size of this book is making it a massive fucking pain in the dick to put on the bookshelf. Like, it's roughly...
I have a really deep bookshelf, so it's not, my shit goes real deep.
Yeah, so deep. I guess mine's a little bit... I guess it depends. My middle bookshelf is way bigger and deeper, and the side ones are smaller.
I've had no issue.
I think it's about the same. Actually, I think it might be the exact same size as my body as a cage from Bats. So, and that one I literally have to like just stick on top. It doesn't fit without like going way past the books that are on the shelf. So that's not a knock. I love that it's a weird shape. I love that it's a weird size.
It's almost like a coffee table book,
It is. If it was like 400 pages bigger, that's exactly where this would go. I will say it's a hardback book that's only 48 pages long. So I'm glad of that. I think it's an awesome thing to have on there, or to be hardback, even if it's this short. But again, not a knock. It's interesting and I love it. Same thing with Cyber Metal. One of the reasons I love Cyber Metal, it's a very weird shaped book, and you spot it on your shelf immediately because of that. And I think that's a really good thing, actually. So same thing with this. But it's still a relatively short book. So it's broken down by setting, how to play, and that all of that goes only to like 17 pages. And then you hit worldscapes and 4 appendices, and that's 19 to 48, right? So more than half the book, like 10 pages more than half the book, is literally just going through the hex map, explaining the hexes, and then doing appendices. So,
and what's funny is that when you get into the later ones, like I think the Haywane or maybe the Inferno, it's like it doesn't explain the hexes. It's like, hey, by this point in time, you and your player characters are deep enough in that you should have figured out how to create the story yourself. And I'm like, oh, cool, okay.
Yeah. And I love that.
I love that. It out.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's interesting. I feel like, and I don't know if you're in the same spot I am, but I feel like I'm in this weird spot. Not weird, good. I love it. I'm in this spot in games, and the games that I like, where I'm really into. There's been some more tactical games that have been coming out lately that I really enjoy, because I love when games are games. You know what I mean? Like, so
like
we're looking at
so.
things like Hell Piercers and stuff like that, where it's tactical combat games that are still RPG. It's not a skirmish game. It's just combat is a little bit more tactical. I've been really obsessed with those, like Slipgate, Choke Point, things like that are amazing. But then you look at the opposite side, where you have something like this, like Hieronymus. I feel like it hits more into that kind of like story game, but there are still rules, and it's the style of rules that I really like. So I feel like this is a really good middle point for people that are very experienced, I think, in tabletop. I think it's approachable for people that aren't, but for people that are, I feel like this gives you a framework to make something amazing and your own, without giving you everything, but just giving you all of the necessary tools to make it as weird and cool as you want it to. So I really like this one.
And like, looking at Laurie O'Connell as a creator, I know him from what's the Death on the Iceberg? It's a Lancer RPG supplement, which is the most tactical game you can play. Sleeping Above a Stolen Crown and Death on the Glacier. Death on the Glacier is like a part of Sleeping Above a Stolen Crown. But like, that's like an ultra tactical game. So it's even funny, like within this itself, it's like, that's really like, they've worked on like really tactical games, and this is totally the opposite end of that.
Completely.
Yeah. It's like Lancer. We've gone through Lancer. This.
And then this, and Lancer is like 400 pages, and this is like 40. So getting into it, there is the art is amazing. I mean, obviously it's all Hieronymus Bosch. I do enjoy the layout a lot of how, there's never really just columns of stuff. Everything is broken out, and I enjoy that. The readability is up there. They use a lot of like Imfell or IMFell, which is like one of my favorite fonts.
Yeah, that's your kind of go-to fonts.
Imfell and Cambria, man. I fucking Calibri can eat a fat fucking dick. Like, go fuck yourself, Windows. Why is that the default font? Arial also sucks. Times New Roman or nothing. Or Cambria. Anyway, so this is the setting here. There are some pieces here that go into some like cool quotes. So this is one on the start. This is the art of a world in a state of turbulence, torn by contradictory tendencies, a world in which the light of reason has been extinguished and where animal passions have gained the upper hand, a world of terror, violence, and plague, a living nightmare. In short, a world very like our own. It's Alan Woods talking about Bosch.
Wow.
Right? And if you look at the one of the things that stuck out to me about the cover art is this dude in the top right taking a shit. Don't know why, but
just like me, for real.
Yeah. There's this, and then there's this weird like tree thing where it's like the person behind in the glass, but it kind of looks like someone's butt. And then there's the weird rabbit person with the dice on their head. There's like
stand you sometimes, man.
Why?
Like someone's butt.
That definitely is someone's butt, but like also a tree, but like also like behind a looking glass. Like, look at the knees. Yeah. It's someone bent over, but it's a butt.
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah. And then there's like a backgammon board, and then in the bottom right there's like maybe like a baby in a helmet, but like it's not a baby, it's a bird. Hieronymus Bosch was on some shit, is all I'm saying. He was on that good. So the setting about Hieronymus Bosch, real quick rundown. If you don't know who Hieronymus Bosch is, it's like a Middle Ages, kind of surreal artist. Hieronymus is based on the work of medieval artist Hieronymus Bosch, 1450 to 1516. So we're talking a little while ago.
Fucking long time ago. Okay.
Yeah,
or 500 years ago, bro. It's crazy.
Yeah. 500 easy, and then it's still good. Bosch is known for his dark, surreal paintings of hell, which speak especially to modern viewers. He was the inventor of monsters and chimeras, quote unquote, the creator of dreamscapes and nightmares in which reality seems to have been turned upside down. Most of Bosch's artwork was commissioned by the church. A bunch of weirdos. One interpretation is that his paintings were intended to terrify the peasants into obedience. definitely the work of the church, or to teach moral truths about the punishment for sin. But Bosch's work was also a mockery of the powerful representative of a world that was chaotic, uncertain, corrupt, and for many outright apocalyptic, a sign of the times he was living through. So really great little rundown about Bosch. There's a rundown here about the Middle Ages as well. I really enjoy this kind of like.
Oh, I loved this part. I was like, oh, this fucking fuck yeah, this fucks. I'm into this part.
It's so good, yeah.
I think it's also, it gives you a good understanding too, because like the themes of this game are going to be like the passing of feudalism onto like the new system, and like the themes of Hieronymus' artwork and how those things interplay. So yeah, I loved this section. I was like, yeah, cool. I enjoy history, so I'm like, yeah, I'll read some history shit.
I mean, this is a much better section than like how to play a role-play game.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Which there is one of those. Or there's maybe it's not how to play a role-playing game, but I think it's how to play this game.
Which is fine. There's a big difference.
It's fine. Yeah.
So the quote in the middle of this page is the inventor of monsters and chimeras. I mean, clearly he didn't invent monsters and chimeras, but shit's fucked. Like, it's really, really dark art that's really, really cool. So yeah, then we get to Visions of Hell, the Divine Comedy. Therefore I think and judge it by thy best. Thou follow me, and I will be thy guide, and lead thee hence through the eternal place, where thou shalt hear the desperate lamentations, shalt see the ancient spirits disconsolate, who cry out each for the second death. Man, I wish people talked like that still.
Yeah, we could. Nothing stopping.
Let's start doing it. We won't sound like pretentious douchebags at all. So let's rock it.
I mean, this is coming from me. I'm like, yeah, history fucks. So
yeah, history fucks. Therefore, I think that thou, despite your lamentations. Yeah. So in Hieronymus, you are traveling through the Visions of Hell depicted by Bosch. Got me already. Like, honestly, that one line, I was like, I don't care what this is. I don't care how much it costs. Like, this is something I'm buying. However, the fascination with hell was preeminent in medieval art and literature. Just over a century prior, the poet Dante Alighieri wrote the Divine Comedy, where the poet Virgil guides the writer through hell and purgatory. Dante divided hell into 9 concentric circles within a pit sealed deep beneath the earth, each involving different forms of torment and punishment. Bosch's paintings are less structured, a reflection of the chaotic time he lived in. The bashing together Bosch and Dante is perfect.
Yeah, makes sense. Like they're so yeah.
So what is Hieronymus? Is this section you're talking about? I'm fine with this. This is not like, what is a role-playing game? Hieronymus is a RPG designated, designed for 2 to 5 players. We will create characters and use them to explore the world of Bosch's paintings. Boom. Love it. His paintings are fucked. Let's be inside them. One of you will be GM. The rest will be in the worldscape. And you are refugees fleeing an astral terror known only as the Follower. Love.
Yeah.
Oh, whatever you said, it bleeped out.
I said, I whispered I went the Follower.
It's so good. As it pursues you, you rip your way through reality into strange worldscapes, and the Follower is only a few steps behind. What will happen if it catches you? It says, the limited number of rules in this book are designed to structure the game and add an element of chance to actions that the characters make to cross the world safely. You'll be able to read more about those in the next section. I love that. For this style of game, I love that it specifically says that all we did was give you just enough, right, to flee an astral terror, like ripping through reality and hell of Hieronymus Bosch's paintings, and we gave you just enough rules to give you some chance and some options. I love that.
Very cool.
So cool.
Next, we have another how to play, and this is more focused on what the agendas of the game master and the players are. For the game master, show off the world, basically make use of the worldscape, the art, show players the hex grid, and point out the obstacles. They're going to see the paintings. They're going to know there's stuff there. Embrace the weird. Hey, these paintings are surreal, violent, grim. Lean into that. Use that to tell weird, grim stories. Make bad situations worse. Listen, if you're a game master, you should try desperately to make bad situations worse for your players, because it's more fun. Players should always feel like they pulled out all the stops to achieve their goals. Yeah, don't be afraid to give them hard choices and hard consequences. Bring light into the darkness. A game that is just grim is usually no fun. Make space for moments of joy and lightheartedness. Reward creativity and kindness. Bring in the threat of the follower. Bring facets of the follower into the worldscape. Keep the threat close, so they're always pushed forward. Have the conversation. If you aren't sure of something, ask your players for advice. Tell a story together. And table safety. Actually, table safety is a pretty good one for this one because this is a game that is like specifically around really incredibly dark, strange, and slightly sexual themes. So, table safety. Player agenda. Escape by the skin of your teeth. Your characters are desperate people in surreal situations. You're out of your depth. Every move you make has high stakes. Make them count. Fight to survive. Explore the worldscapes, experience the surreal, try to make sense of the world around you, use the strange to your advantage, lean into your flaws. A great rule for any game because it makes your character more interesting. You represent deeply flawed institutions and people. Hypocrisy, sin, and deceit are all on the order of the day, but so is kindness and sincerity. Fail forward, accept the consequences of failure, and leverage them to find new ways to make things work. And then table safety, again, really important theme for this as we get deeper in. Very, very cool and interesting game. I think this is this is an easy game to be like push the weird and odd, but still have kind of that lighthearted nature. And I can't wait to talk about the character classes because they're bizarro. And they'd be really fun to watch people play as in practice.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what I said. Like, I feel like this is a very approachable game because of how simple the rules are for anybody.
Yeah.
But I feel like people that are really experienced in more narrative games, and also in that, like, kind of the choice options, right? So I feel like newer players in games where you kind of have like an infinite number of options to play with can get that like choice paralysis.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Absolutely.
So I feel like this game, again, anyone can play it, but I feel like, if you have a lot of like experienced people at your table that are down to get weird, this game could be like so much fucking fun. But again, super approachable for anybody. And I feel like it gives you plenty of tools to play it that way. So
yeah, that way.
So character creation. There are 6 playbooks intended to represent a different profession with different starting skills. When creating a character, you may name them, or you may simply refer to them as, you get the artisan, the scoundrel, the alchemist, the priest, the king, and the poet. So those are the various characters you can be. Now, real quick, when you read this, which one did you... I mean, in my head, I know which one you went with, but which one spoke out to you a lot?
Which one do you think I went with?
The Alchemist.
Oh, no, the King.
Oh, well, you fucking little bitch. But yeah, I would have thought Alchemist for you. I mean,
I just really like how much of the King is obviously like a total piece of shit and like it's not veiled at all.
No. Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get there. But the Alchemist is really cool as well,
Yeah. I mean, they're all really good, so as soon as you hear the word playbook, anyone that knows anything about games, you get kind of like a little bit of a sense of where you're getting into, because that just screams, PBTA. So this is a PBTA, a post powered by the apocalypse game. I still need to find that article on Twitter that talks about like rules light, post PBTAs, all this stuff. I need to keep searching and try to find that. Not article, but it's like tweet thread. Playbooks don't just embody individuals, but the different institutions, classes, and phases of feudal society, which is one of the things I really love about the classes that they picked. Is, again, like, you can be a character or you can really be an archetype of the various things, and a really cool way to look at it. So you choose a playbook, you assign one additional skill to a point, and choose one advance. The points represent the skills your character is best at. The advances are special playbook-specific moves your character can use. So there are skills and items listed here, plus the advances. So each of the 4 skills on the sheet represent a different kind of activity. When you make a roll, the player chooses which skill they wish to roll with. Yeah, but don't be a weasel. Choose the skill which is most appropriate, not the one you just have the most points or whatever. So you get to analyze, tinker, convincer, or move.
I think it's just convince.
Is it convince? Oh yeah, I think it just like blends in. To make it fit on this screen, it's actually really small for me over here. Analyzing is just reading a situation, studying a person or object, or learning motivations. Tinker is to make something or transform something, fix, mend, all those kind of things. Convince is to argue your case, smooth over a situation, intimidate, persuade. And then move is to move fast, unseen or unheard, dodge, jump, climb, sneak. Interesting set of skills.
Yeah. I think that'll force interesting problem solving and like way the situations like work.
It's interesting that they are a set of skills, not a set of attributes that skills are based on.
Yeah.
And I like that. I really like that a lot, because instead of having
cuts out the middleman.
It cuts out the middleman, but also instead of having this like static thing, all of the skills are active. You know what I mean? You are analyzing or tinkering or moving or convincing, or like every time you're trying to do something, it's clear that you're being active about the thing that you're trying to do. And I really enjoy that a lot. Characters do not begin the game with the set inventory, but they do have a pack filled with whatever items they could take with them when they ran. Players choose to begin with 3 of the following items. There's 10 items here. You get a small knife or a dagger, which those are different, I guess. A short length of rope, the tools of their trade, a tinderbox, a handful of nuts and fruits, a lantern, a small purse of coins, a compass, or a set of candles. You get 3 of those 10 to start with.
I'm getting 3 lanterns.
Is that where you're going with? Yeah. Well, I feel like, it's interesting that tinderbox and lantern are separate. Obviously they would be separate as small items, but like if you take one, you kind of need to take the other. You could pick tinderbox, lantern, and candles and to be the light guy, a small knife, a dagger, and, whatever. So it's interesting. And then advances. Every time you cross a worldscape, you may either add an additional point to a skill or advance. And these advances are playbook specific. Anyone may take a wild card advance. I enjoy that. Like there's a set just for you, and there's a set that everyone can have, which is a cool way to kind of like mix and match stuff. So playbook list. So why don't you go over the playbook list for King, since that's the one that you liked?
So King, starting skill, you start with a 2 in analyze and a 1 in convince. The first ability, divine right. When you command your inferiors, you do not take difficulty on your roll, no matter how unreasonable or rude the demand. Yeah. I mean, what a great ability to be a piece of shit monarch, absolutely. That's I would play like a rude, stuffy, uptight king.
You got to
let them eat cake. Is the second one. When you willfully ignore another's misfortune to their detriment, you clear 1 stress. So you build stress in this game by doing things, and then like by just ignoring people who are in need, you just clear stress, just like a real king. And then loyalty. Once per worldscape, you can ask any character to make a devil's bargain in your stead to improve a roll. If they refuse, they take 2 stress. So if you're playing this character, you're an asshole. Like this character is built. It's so
you're a piece of shit.
I was like, oh, it's so perfect. Like I really enjoyed this one. What stood out to you?
So there were 2 that I thought of right away. Which one do you think that I went with?
Oh, probably scoundrel.
It was priest or scoundrel. Those are the 2 that hopped out to me. I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with the priest though. You know, so let me read through this. So there's alchemist, artisan, king, priest, scoundrel, poet, and then there's some wild card stuff. So the priest, you start with two convince and one analyze. Right. The first one you get is indulgence. When you or any of your companions indulge a sin to clear stress, you may re-roll ones. Love that. Inquisition. When you intimidate or threaten another person with the might of the church, take +1d to any convince roll. And scripture, when you study a strange worldscape or vision of hell, your understanding of liturgy and religious torments grants you +1d, so 1 dice, to any analyze roll. So really digging into the church, just bashing on the...
It is funny because like it is obviously like the big theme, and like you talked about in like the medieval switchover, is the switchover from like the feudal society where it's like the landed nobles and the church being in charge to like having more like having more artisans and like poets and artists. And so it's funny that like they're like yeah so the landed nobles like the king and then like the priest, the church, they're just dicks.
Yeah, hardcore. Yeah, I mean, if you got a priest and a king in your party, like you're whew, boy. And then there's some wildcard advances here at the bottom. There's skirmisher. Your time in these worlds has taught you how to fight for your life, +1 dice on move rolls to fight or defend from physical harm. And then suspicious eyes. The follower may be around any corner, and you can always sense when somebody is affected or tainted by it. So cool things you can take there. Yeah. So there's a little example of play here, which is interesting. I like that we get to that before we actually get to the rules. But it says Tam wants to create a rogue-like character. That's an example of how to play with the playbooks. So she picks the Scoundrel playbook. The Scoundrel starts with 2 points in move and 1 in Tinker. Tam wants their characters to have a little extra charisma, so she adds a point in Convince. She picks out the advanced Sneak so that she can be stealthier. Finally, Tam has a think about her character's backstory. She doesn't pick a name for them yet, but she decides she wants them to be quite the sinner. Tam decides that her character is a murderer who was about to be hanged when the follower arrived. The rope is still around their neck. Tam uses this to come up with some starting items. She decides that her character should obviously start with a rope. She also chooses to have a small knife and the tools of their trade, which is a lockpick set. She communicates this all to the group and checks if they're all okay with her playing a murderer. Her table agrees, so creation is done. Yeah, I will say, although I do love the layout, right, and I love the emphasis on the art of Hieronymus Bosch.
Yeah.
The font size is so small for a lot of the things that could be much bigger. Like if you look at the character creation page, that's like size like 10 or 11 font, you know, in the very middle of a page, where I like, again, the focus on the art, but the whole like right third of the page here, like you could really expand into the right a little bit more. The next page the same way. There's a lot of dead space on this page where the size of the font could be much more legible. And especially on this example, play one. I like this triple art set in the back.
Yeah.
But again, like it could be, because of the size of the page, the font is very, very small. And, you know, it's not bad if you have the book, but reading this PDF, even over here on the side, you really have to blow it up to read it. So I will say, like, layout wise, a lot of the font could be a little bit bigger just for readability. And I'm never going to say that Imfel is a super readable font. It does have a little bit of a roughness to it that makes it a little bit more difficult to read than something like a Times New Roman or a Cambria. But yeah, safety. Do you want to hit them safety tools?
Safety. Yeah. Bosch's paintings deal with extreme and potentially sensitive content, including things like torture, sex, and war. Remember, the presence of a potentially sensitive topic in a painting doesn't mean you have to include it or discuss it in detail. Always discuss with the group what everyone's okay with and respect everyone's boundaries. Alter scenes on the fly or go back on previous decisions to make everyone more comfortable if necessary. It's a fucking game. Listen, if you make a decision and someone's like, hey, I'm really not cool with that, just backtrack. Who cares? It's not real. Stop to check in at intense moments and consider using any of the many TTRPG safety tools which exist in the world to guide play. If you haven't encountered these before, have a look at the TTRPG Safety Toolkit by Kina Shaw and Lauren Brian Monk as starting point. That's, I think, especially a good piece of advice for this. Religious themes. Hieronymus features Christian religious themes. The worldscape of this game explores the Christian ideas about hell and purgatory, sin and redemption. Christ appears explicitly in some of them, as does the devil. Members of the clergy, saints, and other religious figures are prevalent. Warn your potential players about this before introducing the game. If any member of the group are religious or indeed have religious trauma, discuss if they have any boundaries in terms of topics that they that can come up in play. Yeah, let me tell you, this might be a hard game to play with someone who's devoutly Christian or has religious trauma. Like, you know,
I mean, the religious trauma bit is the interesting part to me. I mean, you know, I'm not, you know, I don't think you are either. And you know,
what?
Religious.
Oh yeah, no. No, yeah. Not my. I come from a devoutly religious family, but I'm the one branch of the family tree where my grandfather's like, man, I don't really like all that.
Yeah, no. You know, and a lot of times, you know, it's one of those, like, you know, to each their own. Believe what you want to believe stuff, but considering the state of Christofascism in America in 2023, you know, kind of. So
you're saying that we should rise up against Christianity?
Always.
Okay, good.
So anyway, getting to the actual rules of the game, rules and skill checks, because again, you're not attributing, you have skills. So the rules: one of you plays as a GM. Obviously, you travel through the worldscape, escaping the follower. You try to beat the follower across the worldscape, leaving before it catches you. Advance when you enter a new worldscape, and then there is a follower clock. And when it is full, you decide what happens to your characters in the world. I love clocks so much.
So do I. I've really grown to enjoy them. I didn't at first.
So good.
But I'm now like, cool. A cool tracking tool, you know?
It's such a cool tracking tool, you know?
Yeah.
And then you get your skill checks. When one of the characters encounters a challenge or tries to do something difficult, you can consider rolling dice to determine the outcome. Rolling dice is not always necessary. It depends on the decision of the players and the game master. When you roll, choose the most applicable skill on your sheet and roll a 6-sided die. So 1d6 for every point you have in that skill. If you have no points, roll 2d6 and take the lower result. The outcome is the highest number you rolled. So on a 6, you succeed. With double sixes, it's a critical success. On a 4 or 5, you succeed, but not without consequences. The GM may give you an unintended consequence or a worse outcome. On a 1, 2, or 3, you fail completely. The GM imposes a consequence of your failures. So, interesting system here, right? So basically, it is a... You know, it reminds me a little bit of Lumen more than it reminds me of, like, Powered by the Apocalypse, right? So You get to build a dice pool, and then you get a number of successes within that pool. So you get 1d6 of that pool, right? So, and then you have the kind of a mixed success system, but it's more like on a 6+ you succeed, 4 or 5 succeed with consequence, and then 3 or less you fail. So it's like I said, it really does remind me of Lumen a little bit, or any kind of like dice pool high number success system, which is interesting. I really enjoy that. You know, I love mixed successes, and I think if you're not going to do 2d6 with a
bell curve, yeah, I gotcha.
Bell curve, I do like when you get this system of mixed success with number of successes, you know, exceeding what you get. It's an interesting way to do a D6 mixed success system that I do enjoy, and that's the core of the entire game right there. You know.
Yeah, I mean that's it. All right, good talk, y'all. See you next next episode.
Bye. I will say again, like this next page over here, page 13. the readability on this page is not wonderful. It is a
I wonder.
small.
I'm gonna look. Hold on. I want to see physically because yeah, I agree. Even on the like, my screen's bigger than yours, I think, right now, and I have a hard time. But if I go to page 13 in the book, it's so readable in the book. You know,
I feel like it's a little bit more. I feel like the black on the pages in the books has more pop.
Yeah, it pops way more. That's exactly what it is. That's the difference.
Yeah. I'm curious in the PDF if it is like a truer black, or if it's just, you know, the screen light and all this stuff that's kind of making it more difficult. So like you said, I'm glad it's a little bit more readable in the physical book. But for PDF layout and stuff like that, you know, the spreads just do really have like a really, really small font. Yeah, it looks so much bigger in the book. I don't know why it looks so small on screen, but like when you look at it in the book, you know, I just think it pops off the page a little bit more. And I think the font even looks, it can't be, it's literally the exact same thing. So you guess you just gotta blow it up on the PDF a little bit more. But again, readability in the book is not an issue. But on here, maybe I'll just blow it up a little bit and just move around the page a little bit more. Yeah, let's just do that.
So effectiveness. Effectiveness is a mechanic used to, there we go, is used to determine how impactful an action will be. In general, there are 4 levels of 4 effect levels: 0, reduced, standard, and increased. Trying to roll tinker or move to set fire to somebody doused in oil might have an increased effect because they're doused in oil, right? They'll immediately go up in flame if you succeed. Mind you, setting fire to Satan might have 0 effect, even if you succeed. Satan likely won't care. In general, a move should be assumed to have standard effectiveness unless otherwise stated. The GM can use this mechanic to warn players before they make a roll of if their action is going to be more effective, less effective. I feel like that's a great thing to put in writing, but also like you should be like, hey man, I don't think it's going to do you any good. Like, I don't think setting the water on fire is going to do you any good in this situation. Players can always ask about the effect level of a roll and push themselves or use a devil's bargain to increase effectiveness. Stress is a bar that represents the remaining physical and mental resilience of your character. Your character reaches 6 stress, they are impaired and have -1 die penalty to all of their actions. When they reach 12 stress, they're helpless. They have either died or somebody will need to carry them out. When a character is harmed in any way, they take 1 stress. If the harm is serious, they take 2. In any skill check, a character may spend 1 stress to push themselves to add 1 die to their roll, to the rolling pool, to improve the effectiveness of their roll. In any skill check, you may also spend 1 stress to assist another player and add 1 die to their pool. And you can also spend stress to gain an item.
It's interesting. So stress really in this game, and I love that concept, is it's like HP, but also a pool of resources, which is interesting. And I really like that a lot. I also think an interesting thing here is the impaired is not, because you can make a pool of dice, it's not like you can't really do like the concept of like advantage and disadvantage where you just like roll 2, take the lowest or whatever. Because you could theoretically, since you roll a die for every skill point you have and could potentially even push yourself to add another die, if you're impaired, you only take 1 die out of the pool, which is an interesting way to do it. Because if you're only rolling 2 die, that's bad for you. You lose half your die. But if you build up a pool of 4, you know, it's not as bad. And I really like the concept of impaired. The easier it is because you have more options, the less bad it is for you. So it's an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah. This fucks. I really do like the multi-use like resource aspect. I really like resources like that in games. If a character wishes, this is regaining stress. Sorry, continuing on page 13 for those listening and following along at home. If a character wishes to remove stress, They may do so by indulging in their sins. Just like real life, the player states which sin the character will indulge and can only do so if they can find an in-fiction resource or reason to do so. The player then rolls 1d6 and subtracts the result from their stress. So it's between 1 and 6. You get 6 stress back by drinking gin at night by yourself.
Gross.
However, the sin is indulged. Giving into one's sin takes the follower clock up by 1 segment. You sit there and you indulge your sins. The follower is going to get you. It's Jesus.
The follower's going to get you.
He's coming for you.
They're going to get
you. So, other modifiers. Difficulty. If the situation around the character makes a check particularly difficult, the GM may remove a die from your rolling pool or limit the effectiveness of your roll. You may spend stress to push yourself to add an extra die or to improve the effect of the roll. And then, which that's cool, and then Devil's Bargain, which is actually referred to several times now. You want to gain a die or increase the effectiveness of your action, you can also ask the GM for a Devil's Bargain. The GM will offer a difficult choice, a hard consequence, or a sticky situation you must accept in order to improve your roll. You can choose whether or not to accept the bargain after it has been offered, but before you know the outcome of the roll. Examples of Devil Bargains are lose an item, take harm, lose somebody else's trust or goodwill. I'm sure that I could think of about 1,000 other monkey paw situations to go along with that. But that's a good starting list. Mm-hmm. I'd like to refer back to the King's ability, which is to force someone else to make a Devil's Bargain for you.
Fucking asshole.
Yeah. Oh, if we ever play this, if someone ever runs this, and I will play as the king for sure.
We should absolutely run this. Absolutely run this.
Yeah, it has all the art. I mean, it wouldn't be hard to find art assets for it. So,
there's a little batch of GM advice here. It says, what is the difference between effectiveness and difficulty? So difficulty is determined by the circumstances of the role. If the characters do something which seems hard to pull off, but incredible if they succeed, you can impose difficulty. Effectiveness comes from the impact the action will have. The characters could be attempting something relatively easy, such as setting a house on fire to cause panic, but it will have limited effectiveness if the rest of the village is already burning. You can use the status of demons in Appendix A to determine whether a roll should be more or less effective or difficult. So I like the little breakdown in effectiveness and difficulty. I can see why it might be a sticky...
Absolutely. Yeah.
But it's really cool. So like if something would be hard, you get difficulty. If something would be ineffective or super effective, you get effectiveness. And it's nice that they broke it down that way. So on the next page... I'll shrink it so you can see the whole layout here real quick. Again, font just feels small in the middle, but cool pieces of art around the side. This is talking about items, consequences, and clocks. I'm going to zoom in here so we can see this.
And once again, real quick, it's another one of those where it's like, it's so fine on the page. Like it really is like, it's incredibly readable on the page.
Yeah. So it's, I think part of it is because the book is so fucking big too.
Yeah.
Like, items can be used to grant a dice bonus or increase effectiveness on a roll. If a player wants to use an item that is not in their inventory, they may ask the GM if this is something they packed. The GM determines a stress cost based on the situation, usually between 0 and 3. If the stress cost is paid, the item stays in the character's pack indefinitely or until it is lost during play. I like that idea. So basically your items really... Everything revolves around building more of your dice pool, and items just continue to add to that, which is great. Consequences: the most likely outcome of a roll in Hieronymus is a 4 or 5 on a success, or a success with a consequence, right? Which is exactly what you want from a mixed success system, is because that always gives you the yes but, yes and, but then kind of situations, which are the thing that I love the most. It's a mechanic I love the most in games, is a mixed success, success with consequence.
When you succeed, mixed success.
Oh, so good. When you succeed with the consequence, the players do what they're trying to do, but it comes at a cost. The GM decides the cost. It could be narrative. It could be hard or limiting effectiveness. It could be a lot of things. The GM in some cases can choose to start or add a clock. We talked about clocks. For those that don't know about clocks, it's really imagine a circle. Yeah, imagine a pizza pie, right? And each segment is a part of a clock, and you can make that anything. You can make it time. You can make it tracking the number of consequences you've had. It's literally just a really simple, effective way to track anything you want. So for some effects, the GM can start a clock. A clock is generally made up of a circle divided into multiple segments. See, I could have just read it, and it would explain it better than I did. It is used to represent.
What fun is that, though?
Yeah, exactly. It is used to represent progress towards a difficult obstacle or approaching trouble. A complex lock might be represented by a clock with 4 segments, requiring multiple successes to open the lock. While trying to cross a lake, the GM might set a 6-segment clock. When completed, the being under the lake notices you. So again, you can use it for literally anything. It's just a tracking tool that makes things really interesting and also very visible to the players if you want them to see it, which is another thing I enjoy. The most fun bit of a clock is completing it. Don't be afraid to set small clocks and fill in more than 1 segment at a time if they fail badly. You can start a clock with multiple segments filled in already. So there is an example of a dice roll here. I mean, we're literally almost through the rules. So let's just read through this example of play as well. And again, love examples of play, you know.
We do.
So Tam's character, the scoundrel we talked about earlier, is trying to sneak past a powerful demon in order to rescue another member of the group, the alchemist, from a cell. Because the scoundrel has 2 points in move, she already has 2 dice and uses her sneak advance to add 1 more. However, the GM informs Tam that because the demon she is trying to sneak past is very powerful, her roll will be difficult, removing 1 die. Tam has already taken a lot of stress, so she cannot afford to push herself. She asks about a devil's bargain, and the GM informs her that she can gain an extra die if she leaves obvious traces of her passage, so the demon will be able to track them later if they get away.
That's a good one.
It's so good. Like, it's such a good one. Tam accepts the bargain, but Alice, the character playing the alchemist, wants to up their chances even more, so she spends 1 stress to assist Tam. Tam rolls 4 dice and gets a 2, 4, 6, and 6. So 2 6s, a critical success. To reward such a strong roll, the GM increases the effectiveness of the roll. He tells Tam that not only does the scoundrel sneak past completely unnoticed, but when they arrive at the cell, they realize the door is not locked from the outside. It's a simple matter of sliding the bolt open to set the alchemist free. Great example of play here, because you can get, you know, an explanation of how you get all of your dice pulls, right? Yeah. You get the difficulty, which removes dice pulls, and then you get Alice aiding the alchemist. So to get your 4 die, right, the scoundrel has 2 points in move. That's 2 die. They use an advance, which gives him an additional die, so that's up to 3 die. She makes a devil's bargain, which puts her up to 4 die, but there's a difficulty that removes 1. And then Alice assists, which gets them back to 4. So 4 die, 2 6s, nice roll. Boom. But the consequences of the devil's bargain are still there. The door might be unlocked and easy to get the alchemist out, but there will still be traces for the demon to track later, which is awesome.
I think that's such a, like, so cool, such a great consequence. I really enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, that's a great one. And then we got the follower. The follower is such a great tool, character, like whatever you want to call it in this game, because you could just have the players just fucking around in all these different worldscapes, right?
Yeah,
but
totally.
The follower creates this
that forward momentum, the urgency to move. You know, like you know, if you're listening to this and you've been a game master or DM before, or if you are fairly new to it, you're going to come across a situation where you're like, well, fuck, man, they're just fucking around. I can't get them to move forward. And like Gun and Slinger has a very similar thing too, right? They have like the, I don't know what, it's not called the follower, but it's another thing. It's like an astral evil entity that is like tracking you. And it creates the necessity to move forward, the sense of urgency. Yeah, I think it's great. It's always brilliant. Yeah, you know,
it's fantastic, and because so much of the mechanic is based around moving across a worldscape, having something that forces your movement, you know, is a great tool to have. Plus, you know, indulging in sin makes it come even closer, which adds a level of intensity and drive as well. So there's a page here about the follower. It says the follower is an astral terror which pursues the characters across the worldscapes. The follower represents sheer destruction and collapse, a representation of the death agony of feudalism and the crisis of medieval life. Every worldscape which the follower enters is eventually consumed by its own internal contradictions. Like hell in the paintings of Bosch, faces of the follower are always present in the worlds, but they may become more apparent as the game progresses. The characters are all fleeing the follower for their own reason, and the follower will eventually catch up to them. So
it's an inevitability. The follower will catch up to them.
Yep. Which is awesome. So then there is another page here. This is the follower clock. Love that. At the start of the game, the GM sets a 7-segment clock called the follower clock. Fill in a segment every time the players indulge a sin. When the players move between worldscapes, reduce the number of filled in segments by 1d6. So the game ends when all 7 segments on the follower clock are filled, but the table determines what the follower's eventual victory looks like. After all, what the follower really represents is change. So it's interesting. So every time you indulge sin, which is how you reduce stress, right? You fill in a number on the clock, right? But every time you move between worldscapes, you reduce that number by 1d6. So you could play for a long time or a short time.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because every time you indulge sin, you make it come closer and closer. So if you ever enter a world where you have a lot of bad rolls, a lot of your stress is hitting high, you're pushing yourself a lot, the follower is going to coming. You could really reduce that if you roll a 6, but man, imagine hitting a bunch of them and then rolling like a 1. Like you have a whole worldscape to go through and not being able to stress yourself. Yeah. Follower facets that they could be collapse, famine, scarcity, war, death, deception, greed, rapaciousness, excess, sin, fire, and development. Interesting. So that's really, really cool and interesting.
Development is an interesting one.
Yeah, it really is. It's an interesting. How would you even like bring that forth as your follower catching up to you? So it's really, really cool. And realistically, that's the rules. That's it. That's the core of the game. A full page piece of art here of a scheming little one of the ball game situations with this weird kind of like devil dog situation here. It's just, you're never gonna not have a painting that doesn't have some fucked up stuff in it, which is cool. Even this one has some weird stuff. Like this guy here that's like, oh, I'm not doing nothing, haha, but he's like stealing the dude's purse is like, I don't know why it's funny to me. So
it's so perfect, yeah.
Right. So breaking down into the worldscapes. I mean, we can do a quick run through this, but that's pretty much the game. And you know that we don't go through the adventures, but the worldscape section of the book provides levels for the characters to navigate through their journey. Each painting is divided up into hexes, and they need to travel from the entry hex to the exit. As a group moves from one hex to another, the table should look at the painting to determine what is going on in that area and then provide a challenge for the group to solve. The GM has a final say, but everyone can be involved in interpreting the paintings, which is so fucking cool.
Yeah, it's really pretty cool, man.
You could play this game with like 5 different groups and have completely different hexes just based on their interpretations.
I would. There's like a group that I've played a couple of games with in Austin, and they're like this incredibly like artsy and like very literary group, and not in a pretentious way at all. They're incredibly enjoyable people, but I bet that this is the type of thing that they would totally go off on. Yeah,
do it. I mean, there's another full page spread here of more Bosch art, but it's just it's great, and what I really like about I'm scrolling through a lot of this stuff, but the fact that the paintings themselves, they basically just put a hex panel over top of it, and each hex is a different chunk of the painting, not always the same part. So like, I really love how there's like an entrance hex here, and then if you go down a little bit, a big chunk of the hexes is the same piece of art here. But no, I guess it is just one painting, and then you're moving across the landscape of it. But you get the panels.
Dude, and like moving forward, this might be a cool idea for how to make interesting hex maps in general, is finding paintings like that. Like maybe not like this, but finding paintings, overlaying a hex on them, and being like collaboratively, like we're moving through this, like what does this area look like? Yeah, that could be really cool.
I think that'd be awesome. And not only that, like you could also just, instead of like just making a map and then chopping up in the hexes that way too. Like there's some where it's like, here's a hex, here's some stuff in it. I do enjoy when it is more of like a world map with a hex thrown over it too.
Yeah,
and you can
that's how I make my maps. So
right, as opposed to making each individual hex, which is also fun. I feel like if you're deciding each individual one, you're almost kind of doing more of like a point crawl situation as opposed to, there is a little breakdown here of how the Garden of Earthly Delights and then each other section works. So we'll go through that a little bit. But it says the Garden of Earthly Delights is a painting which confronts the idea of the corrupting influence of sin. So I like how you can actually get a breakdown of each painting and give the players kind of a the intent kind of behind the painting, but that their interpretation of each individual hex could be totally different. They're in a beautiful garden with delights the eye and the rest of the senses. As they explore, they discover that the people in the garden behave without inhibition, enjoying stranger and more dangerous pleasures the further they travel, eventually realizing what they're seeing is not the delights of earth, but the tortures of hell. So there's a GM note that says this is far longer than the others, which is one of the reasons it's on like the GM screen where it's broken on even panels of the painting. So be wary of their stress level. There's follower facets, which is greed, sin, and excess. So you're encouraged to use those. There's different challenges and dangers broken down here. So when you agree to play a game in the garden, you must see it through no matter how strange it becomes, those kind of things. And then there's a silver lining. So the tree man in D15 is a wise and kindly creature who will answer 3 questions about the world without asking for anything in return. If any of the characters ask for his name, which is Hank here, he offers them one of his possessions, whatever they ask for on a reason, as gratitude for their politeness. So it's just a really fun, interesting way to do all of this, and especially this giant weird painting, the different panels across it. I love that if you use this idea, you can not only let the players determine some of the concepts, but you could also pick some and just make them a set piece if you really wanted to, pretty easily. So, and not every, there's a whole section here where it breaks down what is in the hexes, but not every single one. So I like that too.
There are numbered hexes that have stuff in them, but then the rest are just like, they're over a piece of art. Like, what does this look like to you? You know?
Yeah. And I love that there's a mix of both. So it's not every hex is designed, and it's not every hex that's completely up to your own interpretation, which is really, really fantastic. It does allow you, for what I just said, those set pieces if you really need them, and then the things that not if not. So, and I love that there's an entrance and an exit and you can go any way you want through, straight across, or you can be like, actually, this hex looks emptier, this hex looks more interesting. I love the concept of that. So we're just scrolling through here for those in podcast land of the various hexes with the art laid out on them. And again, they're broken down a lot into this whole section is about what is on the hexes that actually do have things on each panel. And it looks like the farther you go through the hexes, the less you get, as you said earlier, the less numbered hexes you get and the more interpretation the players are supposed to have, which again is a really cool mechanic. By the time you get to this last one here, there's literally 3. There's 3 fucking hexes on it, and that's it. So that are numbered.
The Inferno has none. The Inferno has none.
Yeah. So it's I like this idea of going across the worldscapes, and it's a really cool, interesting way. And we've talked about this before about like the way in which a game is written encourages the way in which it's played. And I love the idea that in the early ones you get more support, and in the later ones it allows you a lot more freedom. It's just a really fun, clever, interesting way to do that. And then we get to the appendices. Yeah. So the first appendix is the creatures. So it's a good idea if you have to kind of like battle something to know how the fuck you're supposed to do that. So appendix A is creatures. When a demonic character, especially an odd looking one, shows up in a worldscape, they are almost certain to grab the attention of the players. They're likely to become a major participant in the scene. And you may also have an idea what kind of character the demon is, but you can use the tables to figure that out. So a big table here on the side talks about the status or difficulty and the purpose or goal. So a creature or demon's status determines how high up they are in the echelons of hell, and this can help determine their difficulty at the GM's discretion. So why don't you roll a d6 for me? Let's make a little demon boy. Why don't you roll 2d6?
Okay, let me pull up a dice roller. So 2d6?
Yeah.
Okay, I got a 3 and a 5.
So you got a medium status demon, which is still very dangerous, likely highly skilled in at least one thing, such as a Merilith, which is a 7-armed sword demon. You may not want to fight it, but you may easily be able to sneak past one. And then what was the second one? You got a 5?
5.
So the demon's purpose is simply to torment or harm the characters. So that makes sense on a Merilith with 7 arms, swinging swords, that they just want to hurt you. They want to hurt you. That's what they want to do physically.
Pretty cool.
Not emotionally. There's also
maybe emotionally.
Yeah, it could be. There's also follower facets that shine through in this creature. So roll another 2d6.
I rolled a 3 and a 2.
Ooh. So scarcity and rapaciousness. Rapaciousness is a good word.
Is it?
That I'm gonna Google. Extreme gluttony. So extreme. So this one might be a little thick Merilith, a couple of C's on there. And then one last D6 for your weakness.
A 1.
Ooh, running water. Interesting. So you have a medium level demon that wants to torment and harm the creatures. It's interesting, scarcity and rapaciousness. So it makes sense because they're in the scarceness. It might be scarceness because of the extreme greed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the weakness is running water. So that's a really cool, interesting way to break down the potential things that you're going to battle. There's an example here that we already went over one though, so you don't need to. It's interesting because it's a lot of similar things to what we already rolled. Yeah, there's the Merilith. There is the man crab.
Man crab.
Mm-hmm.
Appendix B's got examples of longer examples of play, which is cool if you need it. Appendix C is artworks used, which is very cool. But I think Appendix D is my favorite. And that is further.
You like that D?
I do. I love a good D, further explorations. And it is other artworks for your party to travel through within the same kind of realm. And I fucking love that. And you can do it so easily because you can just pull this art and throw a hex grid over it and be like, here we go,
Yeah. Some cool names on here too. Goya, I fucking love Goya. I got some Picasso on here. But yeah, and what's cool about that is once you've actually played the game, you can just play it again with different shit. So I like that there is an in-game expansion basically already. In any expansion you want, you can just be like, cool art. The other thing that I really love about this concept too, and I know a lot of it is really, really based in the specific art for this specific character and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you really could do this with any artist.
You could. I mean, for me personally, I think what I like about this is that you can pick an art piece and go read about the artist's own words or people's interpretations of the painting or what it's about, and then you can incorporate that into the adventure. I'm just thinking Christ in Limbo, which is another Bosch one. But it's a really good one. It's about when Jesus goes down into hell, or descends into limbo to save the souls of the righteous. When Jesus does that, right? But it's a really cool story that you can incorporate into going through that. It's also a horrifying painting. So
yeah, no, and realistically, you could even spin this into like if you found like a bunch of space paintings and shit like that, you could do a sci-fi version of this like really easily, where it literally is like an astral body like coming after you as well as you go through stuff. So really interesting, great game. And then there's just an acknowledgement section here in the back. Read that, and that's the game. So you get to the back page here. The corrupt peace of the Middle Ages has finally come to an end. All the rottenness of the old society bursts through, ripping the world you all knew apart at the seams. The follower pursues you, bringing with it a sea of fire and chaos. As you flee, you travel through strange worlds. What will happen when it catches up to you? Is there a way home? Boom. That is that's it. That's Laurie O'Connel, 12 pins press. That's it. That's the game. It's a good game.
Great.
This is one I want to play real bad.
Man, this is a really, really cool one.
Yeah, for sure. I want to single page view it. Yeah, it's a really interesting one, and I like that it specifically points out that, you know, one of the things that, you know, we talked about specifically that we like about it is it's just enough framework to give you some fate and consequences for your exploration of this weird shit, right? Like it's just enough, you know, and the rules get out of the way, which is something that we talk about a lot for games that try to like kind of or almost overdevelop. I feel like this one is a perfect example of the right amount of rules for it. So let's hop into a review. So this is going to get, you know, because it is a 48-page book, it's got a lot going on. This will get the full book treatment for scores. So talking about we did tweak some of the language for this a little bit. So Hieronymus, we always give, when we review books, up to 10 points across 5 different categories or metrics or whatever. Art and style is the amount, the quality and quantity of art across the entire book, and the style of some of the layout stuff. It's the style in which it's done, not the tools in which the way it's done, right? Like if it's used like in the art of the book and things like that versus, you know, just columns and stuff like that. So the stylistic choices used in the book and the art. Layout is actual readability, functionality, navigability, you know, the way in which it's actually physically laid out so that you can read the book and understand it. The rule set is the rule set. You know, it's how much we enjoy the rules. We originally had crunch added to this, but we never really ever talked about crunch, so we got rid of that. And then we have the originality, which is just, you know, have we seen this game before? Is it new, interesting? Is the rule set new, interesting? Is the setting new and interesting? It's a little bit of just overall, you know, stuff. And then value is not only how much the book costs, but what you get with your money, bang for your buck for that. So art and style, I mean, it is almost a table, coffee table book, like you said. It's
coffee table art book. I mean, it is. There's art on every page. Like even in the appendix D that we're just going through, the names of the artist and all the words, if you look, it's actually like art under it. Like it's an overlay, like a white overlay that's got negative space over a piece of artwork. Like there's a lot of just like, actually, there's a lot of that in a lot of this book. I'm pretty good. I think this is a pretty high level art for me, which I think is kind of like a given because it's
an art book.
Yeah. like
the entire
point
of the game is to dig into and show off the art. You know, like you can't really knock it for literally doing that like the entire time. I completely agree with you. I don't know how you could make a game about an artist, use their art on every page. The artist is amazing, and not give it, you know, a relatively high score. I think 9 is a really solid score for this.
What would make it a 10?
Oh God, have we given a 10 in art and style before? Did we do like
Cyborg? Yeah.
What would make this a 10 versus something like that? I mean, gosh, I don't even know. Like, I genuinely don't even, like, I don't know why I went with 9 instead of 10 on this, but felt good about the other ones using that. I don't, maybe it's the fact that it's all, like, 500-year art. There's no, like, original art pieces, like, for the creator or something.
Merkborg is also really old art.
Yeah, I mean...
But I will say that one thing I think the distinction, I'm just trying to figure out why I'm not giving this one a 10.
Yeah.
But
I think
my distinction is that all, like, in Merkborg and Cyborg, the rules and the words are used, like, within the art as well.
So that's the style. Yeah, the style aspect of it. So the style. So the art hits, right? But I do think, like you just said, like, I think it's the style and way the which the art is used. It's really used as just background for pages a lot. But it's also hard to, I mean, you would have to, like, you know, Photoshop out pieces and stuff.
Fucking pain. It's also, like, very chaotic artwork. So, like, figuring out the spacing on that would be, like, a nightmare. But 9's good. I'm good with that.
I think I agree with you completely. Like, for a second, I was like, yeah, like 9. It never struck me as, like, gonna get a 10, but then you're right. As soon as you ask why, you're like, I don't know. And yeah, I think the style is really what does it. So, layout. What do you think about the layout?
I have mixed emotions about the layout. I think that's very cool, and there's a lot to like about it, and it uses the art in the words well, and, like, the text boxes are almost never just boxes, and they're almost never boring. But you know what, man? The PDF's kind of hard to read. Like, the physical book isn't, and I think you take that into account, right? But, like, also, it's 2023, I think, and still, and you're gonna use this game digitally. Like you are, You're going to reference it digitally. And if it's kind of hard to read on the digital, like, that kind of sucks.
Yeah. But, like, even within the layout, I think one of the things you said, I kind of disagree with. Like, I feel like everything is just a box of text everywhere. There's even literal boxes, you know?
Yeah. It's the same maybe you are more right with that then.
Yeah. And I don't necessarily have an issue with it too, but if you look at something like the playbook list on page 9, right? Like, that is
the most boring page in the book, though.
There's not even a piece of art behind it, right? Which makes sense because a lot of the art is super chaotic and it's difficult when you're looking at multiple colors and lines and stuff. Right. But, like, also, like, this could be, it's just, like, 6 boxes. It's just 6 it's just 6 text things thrown like paint background, as opposed to, like, even a box around it or anything. It's really a lot of the pages, if you took the Bosch art off, are just words in a box.
Yeah, that's fair.
And, you know, and I'm not saying I want, like, a million font types, and I love Imfeld, don't get me wrong, but I feel like the legibility is really broken up by that. But if you look at, like, page 17, it's literally just a pink box. I don't know. I mean, I think some of my favorite parts about the layout are the art, which really isn't the layout. And I think the best laid out parts, honestly, realistically, are all in the I'm gonna jump back to look at it. Like, some of the best laid out parts are in these panel pieces, right? So, like, this is one of my favorite pages in the entire book, and it's just got, like, a thing on it, but it actually has, like, you know, the hex texture on the side, different size fonts here. It's more pop to it. And even when you go through this, you know, it's got multiple font types. It's got pictures on the side. I love the panel part. And even when you get to something like, what was the page I was just on? Like, even this, I think is cool layout, right? So, like, this is, like, the L is completely different. It's really interesting on this Last Judgment page. I think this part is really laid out well. I think this, like, the Hey Wayne, 2 fonts here, really pops, really bright. But the entire first half of the book, I feel like a lot of it, I know that a lot of it needs to just be words, but I feel like it is much more weakly laid out than the panel second half of the book. And again, the readability really suffers, I think, through those parts. I don't know. I'm thinking, I don't know. What are you thinking? What's your starting for this?
I'm thinking somewhere a 6 or a 7.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Somewhere between 6 and a 7.
I mean, it doesn't. I think we might go with 6 because it doesn't have hyperlinks.
Well, that's the thing that bugs me is version 2.1 has all of that stuff. You know what?
I'm reading this version right here, son. I don't give a fuck about 2.1.
I'd really like to know if version 2.1, the original or the one that I used for most of the time, has like bookmarks and everything else too. And I really want to know why they got rid of that. Like, what would have? Let me download this real quick. Let me hit that download, and then I can bring it up. So if we go to version 2.1, right, it has no bookmarks. But as far as like hyperlinks go, when I go here, boom, all of this is hyperlinked. Which it's just interesting that they got rid of them. So I don't know. And I'm trying to look to see if there's anything really else like strikingly different about it, and it's pretty much the same exact thing. So yeah, I mean version 3, don't know why they got rid of that. I think it is a little bit of a knock. I think 6 is a good score for layout on this. I think that again, as we've said, like digitally, it's a much weaker offering than the physical version.
Yeah.
So I also think that, you have to lay out for the book that you're going to make. But like if the book was cyber metal sized, the font in it would be illegibly small.
Yeah, totally.
So, so yeah. So, so rule set, though. How do we feel about the rule set?
It's a really good rule set. It works incredibly well. It's very lightweight. I mean, I wasn't maybe necessarily blown away by it, but it works really well, and I like all the facets of it. Yeah, I think this is one of those games where almost like Crunch almost does fit for this. I feel like it doesn't need anything else. No, it doesn't really need anything else. It's almost honestly not even about the rules. It's about
that's the whole point. That is the whole point. And I love that, again, we talked about this already, that there's a section that specifically says we just give you just enough rules to explore a fucked up world with something chasing you. That's it. And I think that's really good. I think that's a super big positive for a rule set.
I think so as well.
It is a game that the rule set does not get in the way at all. Like literally you get 4 skills, you get some, and you build a dice pool, and then you need to roll some 4 to 6, and then suffer the consequences of those actions. And then I really do enjoy that stress is pretty much is your HP, it's your resource for everything. I mean, Himbos did a similar thing with heart and stuff like that. So I mean, I think it is simple, but I think it's extremely clean, and I think it is extremely effective. This is one of those things where like simple is not bad. Simple is really good when done effectively.
Yeah.
This is.
What are you thinking?
I'm just saying there's a level of elegance to it that I really, really enjoy. Yeah. I'm honestly on at least an 8 for this. Like at least an 8.
I'm pretty comfortably at an 8.
Yeah. I think there's nothing. I don't think there's anything like crazy unique about it. I don't think there's any mechanic where I'm like, oh yeah, I don't think there's really anything in here that hasn't been done before. But I think the way in which it is done specifically for this is perfect. Yeah. Like even as far as like the way you get rid of stress gets the follower closer, the concept of the follower forcing you across the game, and as we said, how the hexes like get fewer and fewer and fewer to encourage you to create your own. I mean, I think as far as that goes, I think an 8 is a minimum, and it's borderline 9 for me. It's just the because of the elegance, but again, nothing really. There's nothing I went like, oh fuck, I've never seen that before. Like that's super crazy. I just think it's perfectly simple, elegant framework to play this specific game really, really well.
Couldn't agree more.
But originality though.
Oh, it's genuinely, I'm like a 10. I think this is my 10 for originality. I think this is like no contest. This is my 10 for originality. Have we ever given a 10 for originality?
I think we have. I think the ones that we have are like Necronautilus and things like that. Yeah. Let me.
That's fine. This is in good company with that. This is an incredibly original concept. It's really well executed. Like, I think this is so cool. God, it's so cool. It's such a weird, fucking cool experience. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like Necronalis got a 10. It looks like we have a couple of 9s. Did we give did we give Cyber Metal a 10 too? We might have.
Maybe.
Oh yeah, we did give Cyber Metal a 10. Well, and that was because it's cyberpunk kind of, but it's more about being a utopia, not a dystopia, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, that was really interesting.
And me and Kirby actually gave Slipgate a 10. And I don't regret that at all. I think that's a perfect score for Slipgate. I really, really loved the way that game was done, and it was really fantastic. So we've only given out like 3 10s, and this will be number 4. And like you said, I don't think there was ever a question in my mind as soon as I picked this book up and started flipping through it that this would be a 10.
Yeah.
And then let's look at value. So
right now, it is on itch for the PDF 15, on drive-through RPG for the PDF 13. Where is it, the physical copy though? Can I get a physical copy?
I think it's on +1 EXP actually.
Oh, I was not looking there. Let me tell you. Oh, here we go. I found it on 12pinspress.com, which makes sense because that is
directly from the website.
Yeah. And that is that real? Hold on. Oh, here we go. $23, but that's soft cover.
Oh, okay.
But that's soft cover with extras, so it gets all the peripherals that we got, like the screen and the player character sheets. I'm sorry. Help. Words are hard. Bookmarks. There we go. I did it.
Is it? I need to read Blades in the Dark because this says it's a Forged in the Dark game. And I guess I really...
It's so funny because that is such a decently well-known game and neither of us have read it.
A lot of things are based on Forged are Forged in the Dark, and we haven't read it at all. So it is on our list. It is on our list to do. Blades in the Dark is on our list very soon.
We're just it's funny because we're diving deep into sometimes I pick up a zine that I know maybe 100 people also read. And I'm like, yeah, but I fucking haven't read fucking Blades in the Dark, man.
Haven't even read Blades. So no, trust me, it's on our list. And the next, I think it's on the next 3 or 4. We decided.
I think so as well. I think it's what we discussed previously, but yeah, very funny.
So anyway, so soft cover gets you all of that. I assume the hardcover will have to come out at some point. I mean, I don't know why we can't find it.
Yeah, I mean, soft cover's nice though. Also, A4 is the size.
That's what I said. I said A4. So,
but you said it with a question mark at the end. I'm erasing the question mark. I'll let you put a period at the end of that sentence.
I did hard question mark it. $15 for the PDF. I mean that's average. And honestly, a lot of people have been talking lately about people should in the indie scene should raise their prices. I don't disagree. I think 15 for this PDF is totally fine. I think that's and then if we look at the actual campaign for what we got, 35 pounds. We'll call that $35 because the shipping is the only thing that's hard. We got the hardcover book, the PDF. It says 4 character sheet bookmarks. I feel like I got more than that. I feel like I got and then the accordion print screen was all 35 pounds. I think that's a great fucking deal for this.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, you're not gonna. That's crazy. So
yeah, 35 pounds for the GM screen, the bookmarks, and the hardback book is fantastic. 25 for the softback, I think is a solid deal. So I think value wise, I think it's average or a little bit above. You get a lot of cool stuff. I think the thing to take
into consideration is that like my favorite appendix in this is that hey, now you know how this game works, you can take an art piece from another artist and you can just continue to play this game. You know,
I really do enjoy that. I think there's always this conversation about licenses and all the rest of that stuff, but I can't imagine that this game doesn't. I mean, if it's already a hack, that you could just hack it into something else and they'd have a problem with it. But I really think that it's a solid value. I mean, $35, like I said, for what we got, I think is great. So I'm where, what are you at for this? I'm between I don't know, like a 6 and a 7-ish kind of.
Yeah, I'm at a 6 or I'm at a 7 because I know that I can pull art from other places and keep playing this.
Yeah, let's go 7. I think that's solid. Yeah. It basically creates expanded content without actually creating expanded content, which is totally fine. So that's it. That's Hieronymus. I really enjoyed this one a lot. This is one of those ones.
I really did. This is a very good one, you know?
Yeah. I mean, and a very playable one, you know. I don't think that there's Ooh, did it really? Yeah, I mean, it's got a 10 and a 9. It literally got a 6, a 7, an 8, a 9, and a 10. Like,
very funny.
Yeah. So I just want to make sure it's a 9 plus 6 plus 8 plus 10 plus 7. I don't know why I felt like it was gonna be lower than this, but it's a 40.
Nice.
And that's a solid like upper tier.
I mean, it took a hit on layout, but everything else was so high, especially like art and originality, you know? So.
Yeah, you know, I think if the PDF was laid out a little bit more readable, I think if the size of the stuff was a little bit more readable, I think if the layout in general was a little bit more interesting. Yeah. I mean, I don't know why they disappeared between V2 and V3. But that would have bumped it up. I mean, I think you know, even if it would have got to like an 8-ish with hyperlinks and a little bit more legibility, you'd be looking on like a 42, which is honestly one of the high. I think the highest score we've ever given out is what, a 43 or 44.
I think so, yeah.
So 40 is upper echelon, and a lot of games that we really enjoy end up falling right into 38 points. So this is a solid one. Between art and originality, it really shines. The rule set itself is solid. So that is Hieronymus from Laurie O'Connel. With layout from Chris Bissett, and special thanks to Matt Sanders they do a lot of stuff with Soul Muppet, but also have oh my god, why is the Seal Library? This is definitely one to check out. You know, $15 for the PDF, totally worth it. $25 for the soft cover and all the other stuff, totally worth it. I would definitely go snatch this up wherever you want it. It is available on 12 pins, like Hunter said. The soft cover is also available on +1 EXP. So definitely go check those out. That is Hieronymus. You know, I don't know what we're doing next. Did we make plans for next week?
Oh, we have a list, but I can't remember what's on it because. Is Trophy Dark next week?
Ooh, are we gonna do Trophy? I'm down to do it.
Hold on, we have? I swear to God, we have a list. You know what? It's Trophy Dark.
All right, we're doing Trophy Dark next week.
There we go.
Definitely want to check that one out.
Us.
Yeah. And this one does make us want to do Blades in the Dark in the next couple of weeks. So expect that. We have some other physical stuff coming in that might adjust our schedule a little bit. But, you know, coming up, we have some interesting stuff. And maybe we'll reach out and have... we've been doing a lot less interviews, if people have noticed. That's just because with time and stuff like that, they're kind of a bit of a stress to get all of our time zones off and put together. But... we have a fun, interesting game that we want to look at soon, and want to reach out to potentially talk to that creator. So we'll see. So Trophy Dark next week. I also have, I think next week I'm doing a special episode with Jonathan Davis of Civid Sanctum.
Oh yeah.
So on Saturday we will actually be going over now Hyperion this time, Hyperborea. We're going to be going through Hyperborea.
Well, it's not this Saturday. It's the 29th, right?
Is it the 29th or the 22nd?
Probably the 29th. If it's is the weekend that I'm not here?
I think it's not the weekend that you're not here because they didn't have the weekend off. I don't think John had the weekend off. So I think this coming week we'll get a double episode situation Saturday, Sunday.
Double episode.
So, right? Between Hyperborea and Trophy Dark. That's going to be a fun fucking weekend, and I got a lot of reading to do.
Yeah, you have a lot of reading to do.
That's it. That is our episode.
Thin.
It is not thin at all. But we're gonna me and John have sat down and discussed how we're gonna break it up, make it a little bit more digestible. So we'll figure that out. So that's what's coming up this week. Thank you all for checking us out. Definitely go follow us on the.weekly.scroll on Instagram. Weekly_scroll on Twitter. That's where you'll find, you know, all of the, you know, things coming up and our bullshit. And then you definitely want to go hit the Adventure Archive on YouTube and hit that subscribe button. That'll really help us out a lot. And honestly, seriously, more ratings and reviews on the podcast on Apple and Spotify and stuff would be really great. So if you guys could if you listen to that, that'd be really cool to check that out. But thank you all for being here. And Hunter, you have fun tonight as we both go into work after this episode.
No, I'm going to go in tomorrow morning instead. It's too late now.
All right.
I'm sleeping.
Dope. Cool.
All right. Bye, everyone.
That's it. Bye.